So I'm about to go to the dentist to get my braces removed, and I wanted to hop on and make a quick video before I do that. I'm Jen Broyles, and I've been sharing some of my journey here along the way over the past 3 years of my palate expansion process. And so if you haven't had a chance to watch those videos and you're curious, you can go check those out on this channel. And I felt inspired to get on today and to just make one last video while I have these on, because the past 3 years of this journey of expansion has not only been literal in terms of palate expansion and physical, but also quite metaphorical and symbolic to my life. It has been a period of great expansion. And what I realized during a process of expansion is with expansion, there's also contraction. One of the things that I noticed quite often in this expansion process is anytime I went in to the orthodontist to have an adjustment to ultimately create more expansion, that adjustment felt really tight. It felt contracted and it felt sore and uncomfortable. But ultimately, what that was doing was opening up. It was expanding. It was growing, even though it felt tight and tense and uncomfortable and sometimes painful. What was happening actually is that it was growing. It was expanding. There was an opening up. And I find that to be true in life in general. When we are expanding, when we're growing, it can oftentimes feel uncomfortable, tense, painful, and even sometimes contracting. And I've noticed that in my life. It's interesting how situations in my life have corresponded to this whole expansion process over the past 3 years. Over the last 3 years specifically, I dove into a lot of deep inner work, a lot of personal growth and development, and really doing a lot of subconscious reprogramming work, leadership, emotional intelligence, which really just cracked me open in many ways and allowed me to see how I was showing up in the world, where I was playing small, where I wasn't being true and authentic to myself, and where I was wearing a lot of masks in the world and relationships and people around me, and really stepping into a, a courageous version of me, a bold version of me, an authentic version of me. And that expansion, that growth, that connecting with myself and getting clear on who I am, who I want to be, who I'm becoming, and what I want to create in my life, that is a process of expansion. And oftentimes it feels like contraction or discomfort or pain or uncertainty. And it can feel very tense and questionable at times of, is this all really worth it? And I think ultimately, at least in my experience, once we start that journey, there's no going back. We've seen what we're not going to unsee. Just like when I started this process, I was all in, fully committed. There was no turning back. It's like you start this, you finish it. And that's what I walked into this with, knowing it would be a multi-year process. I was all in, 100% committed to the process. And what I got to do was trust the process. There were a lot of times, many times, where I questioned a lot of things, and I sometimes doubted, or I was hesitant, or just not fully, trusting the whole experience. And so it taught me a lot in the area of trust, learning to trust myself, learning to trust my intuition. And ultimately, when I trust myself, I more easily trust others. When I trust myself, I more easily trust others. And so, yeah, like these past few years of my life have been a process of growth and expansion. And, when that happens, sometimes things fall away too. I mean, unfortunately, very sadly, my marriage crumbled and ended in divorce. And there was a lot of other things that came along in that process. A lot of heartache, a lot of grief, a lot of sadness, a lot of doubt, guilt, all these feelings that so often we don't want to feel, we don't allow ourselves to feel. But I was able to sit with those feelings and move through them and heal and see it all as part of the expansion process. It didn't feel good. It felt tense. It felt tight. It felt constrictive and contracting many times. I questioned things many times. I doubted many times. And through that process, a lot fell away. My home, my livelihood as it was at the time, a lot of my sense of comfort and safety and security, friends and family members, my identity. I tell people a lot of times I felt like I lost my identity because who I had been for over 13 years, I was no longer. And so it allowed me to go back to being me. Who am I? Who am I? And who do I want to be? And who am I stepping into? And through that, really allowing myself to rest in the uncertainty, trust myself in the process. And what has unfolded has been really beautiful. I'm now living in a new state, in a new city. I've got an incredible group of friends and a beautiful community. And there's other things that I'm stepping into and constantly growing and expanding into. And so, from my point of view, this journey never ends, this journey of growth and expansion and becoming more and more of who we are called to be, the highest version, the highest vision of ourselves. And that will constantly change and evolve over time. And so, I hope this resonates for you, but I have just seen this whole process as not only a literal physical expansion, but also a metaphorical expansion, a symbolic expansion, a spiritual expansion. And so I'm about to go to the dentist, get these chains removed, and step out into an even more expanded version of myself. Until next time.